Hello and welcome to a Friday. I didn't actually stream yesterday, so this is kind of making up for that. For anyone wondering what the music was, that was actually bits from the soundtrack of Tron, which is early 80s and was almost entirely, in fact probably entirely composed on synthesizers. So yeah, that's why it kind of sounds a bit like that. So, yeah, the Munchen, I'm not actually sure. That's been put on sale now, so we can talk about that and show that off on stream. And I'm also going to be playing a bit of the Anchorage as well, because I've been playing that off stream, trying to get a good game for a YouTube kind of first look / review, but that's not been going very well. Partly because I keep getting tier 10 games and it really doesn't want to do very well in tier 10 games. Although, to be fair, in terms of its lackluster range, that is completely on a par with the other tier 8 American cruisers. This one at least does get access to a spotter plane to go with its smoke, but that comes at the cost of having a usable hydro. And I've actually been testing it out with the hydro as opposed to the spotter, because there's quite a few times when I've been caught a cropper in my smoke by torpedoes, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from maybe have a thingamy captain, a vigilance captain, which I don't think I've even got any vigilance captains for the US. I might have to specially have a vigilance captain and maybe go back to trying the spotter plane. I also have put double rudder on this, so the concealment isn't exactly great. With maximum concealment, it's actually reasonably respectable, but yeah, it's been a struggle. It has absolutely been a struggle. This is the special camo for the Anchorage, because the Alaskan natives, the various groups, have got their own particular art styles, and it's meant to evoke that. I don't know if it's supposed to be one particular group, but yeah, I quite like this camo. It's also got just a regular, pretty bog standard what you'd expect perma camo. So yeah, it's fine. If you no, wrong one. If you don't particularly like this, then you've got just the standard option to go for as well, but I quite like it. So we'll actually start off, I guess, with an Anchorage game. You know what, I will try it. I think I've probably got a 19-point captain. I think this is just like my Des Moines captain or something like that. So let's try going back to the spotter, because the spotter, fighter and hydro are all in the exact same slot. And I do have a spotting aircraft mod available. And we're going to try it with a vigilance captain. And I'm going to have to specifically spec it with a vigilance captain. So we'll see how that goes. Priority targets. Adrenaline rush, which honestly doesn't, like, it's got such a long reload. Yes, you've got more guns than the Baltimore. You've got what, 4x3? Baltimore's got 3x3 turrets, but you have a whole extra 5 seconds. So even with basically max adrenaline rush, it doesn't seem to improve things that much, but I guess we'll take it. Or do I want better turret traverse? 26 seconds is not great, but it's a heavy cruiser. We'll go with adrenaline rush, I guess. We definitely want that for the extra smoke, because you only get 2 by default. We'll go for concealment expert, which gets me that 12 kilometers. Right, vigilance. It's not particularly I've gone for double rudder, but it's quite sluggish. So a double rudder, you get the rudder shift down to 5.4, but it's an 800 meter turning radius, and it's not an especially fast acceleration or deceleration. So I don't know if this is going to be enough beyond having hydro. What else can we do points wise? I mean, I did have Demo Expert, but I don't know if that's strictly necessary. Useful, but not strictly necessary. I could bump my defensive a bit. I guess it's not exactly great. It's good against tier 6 carriers, but most tier 8 cruisers are decently equipped against lower tier carriers. I guess we'll take Expert Marksman just for the extra little bit of turret traverse, and then we're going to want preventative maintenance as well, because we don't have the main armaments modification if we're using the spotter aircraft. So I'm giving this a go. I don't know if this is necessarily going to work any better, but it does at least give you that bit of extra range to work with. It'd be nice when you're using a spotter aircraft if it would tell you what it boosts the range out to, rather than having to like do the maths in your head. So it's what, an extra 20%, so that's going to be 19 kilometers, something like that. Does it get the bug DM bonus? It probably does at the moment. 23.7 seconds that's gone down to. I said it was 5 seconds longer than Baltimore. It's actually 5.5 seconds longer. 15.5 seconds reload. And Baltimore gets a 10-second reload. So it does suffer in terms of its rate of fire. And unlike the Baltimore and is it the Wichita? Is the heavy premium? The heavies both have 27mm fore and aft plating. This has 25mm, and of all the US cruisers at tier 8, it has by far the most raised citadel as well. So this is the squashiest of the tier 8 cruisers for the Americans. It absolutely is, which is probably one of the reasons why I've been having such a rough time in down tier games. Oh, this is actually a tier 9. I've not had many tier 9 games. It's either been top tier or tier 10. So we'll see how we do. HE always, against angled battleships certainly, and a lot of the cruisers you meet as well. But the AP is good enough. The AP is actually pretty decent. It does have that decent American heavy cruiser ammo. I don't think it's the same ammo stats as the Baltimore. I think it's the same as the New Orleans, tier 7. I think. I can't remember. I'd have to double check that. But it does feel pretty punchy, so it's good enough against, especially if you've got like a lower tier battleship giving you broadside. You can get 6 AK salvos easily just from the AP. And against cruisers that are showing broadside, citadels are fairly easy. This is a paper heavy cruiser design. It says it's something like CA-B or something like that, which means nothing to me. Now you do have US smoke, which is nice, but only 3 of them. And it's therefore a bit tricky to know when to use them exactly, especially with the relatively short-ranged main battery. I mean, there are plenty of tier 8 cruisers which struggle for range. That's absolutely not unique to this ship, but this almost feels more like you're playing Megami in terms of its squashiness compared to the Baltimore. It really does feel quite fragile. Hello, Error Macro. Also, who else is here? Fu, Tommaso, Grant Scrunts. You're from British Columbia, so the style is familiar. I've actually been to BC, so yeah, I've seen some of the totems and whatnot up close, which was kind of cool. Is it worth 3,500? Yeah, I wouldn't pay the 8,000. Odin, I think, was more worth the 8,000 or whatever it is for the several stages of booster. For the 3.5k that you will have to pay to get this. Sure, if you're going to grind out the rest of it, then yes, I would say that was okay. But Yeah, I wouldn't pay full whack for this, and I wouldn't pay the 8K for it necessarily. Because it really does struggle badly when it's outside of being top tier. Well, in top tier, in tier 10 games anyway. Like I was saying, this is a rare experience, me being in a tier 9 game. That's because I ripple fired there. So I'm not sure what else to say about it. I mean, it feels like a US heavy cruiser, just quite a fragile one. And the fact that you have to choose between spotter and hydro is, yeah. I could lay down my own smoke here, but if I do, it's probably not going to be worth it. There's nothing going to be in range, and my spotter's only up for another 70 seconds. Even with the spotter mod giving you extra time. Try a risky shot at this North Carolina. The double rudder shift definitely helps. I think that's probably the way to go with this ship. Oh, there's a Jutland. But the thing is, along with most smoke cruisers, especially if you're not using hydro, it becomes a very selfish ship. There's not a lot you can do to help out your teammates. You do, however, have Fletcher torps. 10.5 kilometers range, which is I think just enough for that. Just enough range for that smoke over there, so... Yeah, it's kind of like a, I don't know, smoke Megami with the 203 mils, except the 203 mils are more effective than the Megami's 203 mils. So I've learned to be very cautious with this ship because it does not really give good results when used aggressively for the most part. And although you do get these torps, and although they are quite fast reloading, I've honestly not been able to do much with them. They kind of don't feel like they do all, like, even though they've got a good range, you just don't get close enough to use them most of the time. Because even with the best possible stealth, you still can't stealth drop. So it's nice to have them. You'd rather have them than not. But it's hard to say that they are that useful. And as with any smoke cruiser, you do rely on people spotting for you. I don't think it's a particularly great open water ship. Because even with the double rudder, you still have 800 meters of turning radius, which is not good for a cruiser. It really isn't. Right, I'm going to draw my smoke along here.
Smoke generator started.
Oh, there's the Jutland. There's me ticking shots meant for somebody else. That's always fun.
The ship is on fire.
I'll actually show you the Citadel after this game. You can kind of see what I mean with the Citadel being raised in comparison to its peers. Now, as that guy's given broadside, we might actually try some AP shells here. Although, having said that, he is now just starting to turn, so let's quickly switch.
Torpedoes to starboard.
We're getting a nice bit of cooperative smoke sharing with this Neptune here. I got to use his a bit, he got to use mine a bit. Soyuz might be worth slinging some AP against. Yeah, it gives you better reaction time, yeah, having the better rudder shift. It doesn't actually affect the space it takes you to turn, it just affects how quickly you can start turning. Oh, right, actually we want some explosive there. Actually just about hit there. Can we hit the Seattle? We do have US cruiser ballistics, so we might be able to.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
My preview looks fine. Is anyone else having that problem? That might just be you. Error macro. Yeah, I think the usual thing with Twitch issue qualities is just keep refreshing until you hit a server that's giving you better quality. Wow, we are a lot of ships down already. It's definitely a very... like, this isn't a carrying ship. This is a farming some selfish damage ship. It's not a ship where you can make a huge difference if your team is derping extremely hard. It just doesn't have the durability or the rate of fire. Super Ranger! Well, there's a name I haven't seen in a while. How are you doing, Super Ranger? Thank you very much for that sub. It's very much appreciated. Right, is there much of anything I can do here? The Jutland obviously can outspot me. Right. Oh, fair margin. And there goes my hit points. See what I mean? This thing is so easy to citadel. I mean, it's not quite British cruiser easy to citadel, but it's pretty damn easy. It dies very quickly if you get caught out of place or hit by something that you can't do anything about. Because it's a heavy cruiser, you're not even getting that huge an advantage. I think it's what, 8 point something kilometers from your smoke shooting debuff. Yeah. Try and maneuver a bit so I'm not quite so. Yeah. Hello there, Neptune. Sorry about this. It was entirely intentional. Now we get shot from the other side. By everything, but you know, we're kind of losing this one extremely badly anyway, and it's the same with most tier 8 cruisers. You get stuck in this kind of situation, there's limited amounts you can do about it, especially if you don't have a heal. That was, yeah, you die so easily in this ship. That was the Neptune smoke. So this team got thoroughly spanked, 60k damage. It's not a ship that can carry, it's not a ship that particularly makes a big difference. Unless you get lucky. You have to have good teammates. It would be a good division ship, for sure. Just any smoke cruiser is a useful division ship because you can kind of share that utility around, communicate, get spotting and what so have you. But on its own, yeah. Right, what was I doing? Comparing cruisers. So yeah, the Anchorage. What was the? I have to click armor layout, so let's get rid of, well, first off, 20, was it 27? Why was I seeing 25 mil before? What was I looking at that I thought it was 25 mil? Was I just looking at the wrong ship? I could have sworn it said 25 mil, but maybe I was just looking at completely the wrong ship. Well, never mind, I was wrong about that. It's 27 mil plating. I could have sworn it said 25 mil, but apparently my brain was just tricking me. So yeah, this is the Citadel. It's not like super high above the waterline, but it's enough. And if you compare it to Baltimore, which is clearly lower, Cleveland, Wichita, and obviously Montpelier is the same. So it's got the highest Citadel easily of those ones. So that's where its vulnerability comes from. Why did I think it was 25? What the hell was I looking at that I thought it was 25? I don't know. Apparently I was dead wrong about that. Anyway, well done, brain. So you do get some resistance with the 27mm, but yeah, that citadel is kind of nastily exposed. So it's not a survivable ship if you come under any kind of heavy fire. Most cruisers aren't, but the more exposed your citadel, the less likely are you to, survive for any length of time, basically. We separated from the... Oh, just catching up with the chat. Okay, so you're presumably back home in the US then, Super Ranger. So I love this camo, but it's kind of hard to love the ship. It just, I don't know, it feels like it has very little team utility, and because it's a heavy cruiser with a slow reload for its tier, even though it's got a good broadside, it then struggles to feel like it can do any kind of appreciable amount of damage on its own. Like if you're in a situation when you're on your own, you just cannot put the damage out quickly enough, especially against destroyers. And you don't have the utility that your brethren have with the radar and hydro. Especially the light cruisers, which can have both radar and hydro. Like, top tier, this might be better. Top tier, you actually end up feeling like you can do something with this ship. Yeah, the torp angles are okay, better than the Japanese counterparts. This is certainly better torp drop angle than the Megami gets, but you do have to show a bit of leg, as it were, and although the turret angles are actually, I think, reasonably decent, again, if you're angling to show all of your turrets to try and maximize the firepower of that slow 15.5 second reload, again, that makes you quite vulnerable. So if someone was asking me between this and the Otago, I would say absolutely the Otago. Otago beats this hands down all day, every day kind of thing. Even though it doesn't have a smoke. The smoke is situationally very powerful. It's kind of like the London at tier 6. There are times when the smoke is a huge advantage. But in the majority of games, it's not going to be like that. Yeah, these are 203s. Yes, it's a heavy cruiser. But just in terms of overall general utility, survivability, Otago, definitely. It also handles better. Although I can't remember offhand what the Otago's turn radius is, but it's got to be better than 800 meters. Someone can look that up for me, right? I have the excuse of not wanting to do it right now. Did I? Yeah, I've put all the flags on this. Should have checked that before the previous game, but yeah. The AA is modest at best. Yeah, it's got a good broadside. It's almost like an Italian cruiser. You just have that long reload, but a good amount of punch to go with it. I have yet to play this in a division though. I suspect in a division with some coordination with a destroyer, say, that was providing me with some spotting rather than having to rely on random teammates to spot. It could be, I think, very useful, especially with it being US smoke, because US smoke lasts so long that by the time the cooldown is finished, you actually are almost back at being able to smoke again. The only downside is you've only got the 3 smokes, so in most situations you aren't going to be rushing to use your smoke right away. And even though both shell types are quite good, that long reload actually makes it quite tricky. Like the expert reloader might actually be quite a valuable skill on this ship. There are times when you do want to reload and it's going to cost you a lot of time to do it. It can have Hydro, Spotter, or a Catapult Fighter all in the same slot. So you have to choose. I have tried Hydro, but then you can spend an awful lot of time trying to catch up to people to actually get in range.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Whereas that's less of an issue with the Spotter. But if you don't have Hydro, it basically eliminates any team utility you might have whatsoever. At that point, you're just 100% a selfish smoke cruiser. If the Leander's still in their smoke. Probably not going to get there in time, but you never know. Oh, there he is. Let's just stick with HE.
Torpedoes dead ahead. Torpedoes to starboard.
Let's just go around this side.
Torpedoes dead ahead.
Show top. E. What's that over there? Right, I can potentially smoke here, but we know the Yadachi's around, so it gets a bit tricky because it's like, well, if I smoke, that smoke is going to attract torpedoes. Right, I really hope I don't get whacked right now. That would be unpleasant. Did we? Oh, we had a Mars who's dead already. That's what happened to him. So, do we have a thing can spot over here? And the answer is no. So there's not much point dropping a smoke right now. Massachusetts is burning. In fact, I think we just want to get out of this flank generally. We're almost buggered off to the middle. We are outnumbered here. Especially as we don't have any vision. If this, I mean, if this had radar or something, it would be OP, but I don't think it would have been OP to... Oh. I was going to bump into the rock. I don't think it would have been OP to give it Hydro. As well as its catapult. Quite honestly. But here we are. Ismail's shells I can at least resist to some extent. So there are lots of situations you can find yourself in where the smoke just kind of isn't much use.
Torpedoes to port.
Right, the Adachi's still around there. It's worth trying to drop torps on this. Theory, it might just intersect him.
Enemy battleship sighted.
don't think I've landed more than a torp hit or two in a given game. I don't think I've had any games where I've had multiple torp strikes. It's a tad risky, but I want to keep firing at these guys. I mean, I think, is it the Baltimore? I think it's the Baltimore that can also mount a spotter, but it comes at the cost of radar or something like that, so... It's not the only Tier 8 American cruiser that can have a spotter. I'm just taking advantage of them all picking on that Amagi. Oh. Yoko's been having a rough time, clearly. On 12 hit points. It's not a lot of hit points. Ooh, I'm assuming there's more spike shells coming for me. Yes, they are.
Our team has taken the lead.
It's just at the edge of my range. I do wish if you had the spotter mod, or if there was a different spotter mod that gave you shorter cooldown rather than increased duration, because sometimes short cooldown would be awfully useful. So far, the only ship that actually has anything different with its spotter is it the... No, well, ships actually. It's the... I'm sure Musashi's spotter gets extra duration. And then there's Lazo, which can pop out its spotters in rapid succession. It really makes a big difference when you're top tier. I mean, if nothing else, tier 10 carriers are rather terrifying for most tier 8 cruisers. I had one game previously where I actually bumped into another CC, Private Penguin, who is an OM guy, and he was in a division with Manfred von Richthofen. And the Richthofen just kind of casually flew by and took half my hit points with a single AP rocket strafe, which was not fun. And again, because of that high up citadel. That high up citadel is a pretty big liability. I could smoke right now, I don't need to. This is almost turned into a game where, I mean, sure, I guess. I can smoke. Don't actually need to smoke, but I guess we will. So as he's angled, yeah, this is just HE all the way. I'm actually going to get some decent damage out of this. Fun for the CV. Yeah. I mean, the one game I've had so far in this where I breached... Oh, I might just do it here, actually. No, maybe not. Where I breached 100k damage was a top tier game, and I actually, like, the very first battleship I was picking on, which was like a Scharnhorst or something, I got super lucky with fires. I managed to get a Witherer from the very first ship I was firing at, because I just kept setting them on fire. Not a lot of them left now. Just just about hit this guy over this island. There's the Devonshire. Given we're basically at their cap, I might as well. So I can be a bit more aggressive here. Hello, Warspite. Ooh. Dun 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 dun. Okay, it's a pity that Baltimore's still alive. Let's see if we can maybe torpedo the Warspite, I guess. Problem with this, with these angles, yeah, getting in close to torpedo somebody, probably not a good idea. No, never mind, we're capped. It's not quite 100k, but not a terrible game. Far from terrible. I'll do one more and then we'll have go in the Munchen, that one. The Munich. Honestly, I think the main thing that makes this more difficult to play is that raised citadel. Coupled with the not particularly great rate of fire. I'm actually just gonna, hang on, see if we've got time to do this. How does it actually compare in terms of DPM? Because Baltimore has a different number of guns. There's no way I can do it, the maths in my head.
Your business is appreciated.
Right, Anchorage, HE DPM 130,000. Baltimore 151,000. Wichita 151,000. So yeah, and I can actually. It's yeah, it's also different AP shells as well. So the HE is I think the same, but the AP is, I'm pretty sure, the tier 7 AP, so it's less. Yeah, it's the same AP that Wichita has. And if you look at the AP DPM again, 213, 270 and 248. So in terms of DPM, it does kind of yeah, it's behind. It's not great. It's at the bottom of the scale in terms of its damage per minute output. So even with more guns, it's not matching the Baltimore's DPM at all. Or the Anchorage, for that matter. No, not the Anchorage. The other one, the Wichita. There we go. Same Y sound as in Lynch. Oh, for... Oh, I'm going to have to get my head around that. For... Munchen. Munchen. One of those two. Again, a tier 9 game. Okay, I'll have to work on that, clearly. Right, so there's a DD around here somewhere. We do have a Donskoy, and the Cossack is nice and sneaky. Germans in their umlauts, so wacky.
Dead ahead.
Oh, right, that is the Oostergotland for sure. The speed of those torpedoes. Moonchin! I like Moonchin. Oh, there he is. So yeah, the AP in particular, even though it's less damage, I think it's actually faster. It leaves the barrel at a faster velocity. That's what I'm ham-fistedly trying to say, compared to Baltimore. So the AP is kind of like, yeah, okay, it's fine. It's more the DPM figures that are a bit tricky. Like a random drop there, why not? Right, the Cossack's going middle. I don't particularly fancy sitting here in smoke when there's a fast torp reloading destroyer hanging around. Because that's just an invitation to get torpedoed repeatedly and often. Right, he's in the cap now. Where's the Alaska? Right, we might actually try smoke here just so we can pew-pew at the Alaska. Possibly the bomber? See, Cossack, if you drop a smoke, he's just guaranteed to radar, unless that's the plan, I guess. Unless he's trying to force the guy to waste a radar. Right. There's a Surrey.
Smoke screen set.
Actually, only spotting though. It does somewhat lessen the utility of the smoke. I mean, you pay, as with most things that get a smoke screen, most cruisers that get a smoke screen, apart from Belfast. Back when they didn't know any better, I suppose. You pay heavily for having that smoke screen. And the low DPM I can kind of see, but the Ray Citadel just seems kind of mean. There's the more torpedoes, which is why I was reversing. It's actually showing a fair bit of broadside, and there's a Surrey there as well, so let's switch to some AP shells here.
Enemy destroyer sighted.
Your business is appreciated.
Gonna get shots off on him? No, I don't think so. This Pommer's not taking particularly huge amounts of damage, are they? I think we're going to have to see if we can use this smoke for a little bit of cover rather than using the last bit of it to shoot. There's a fire. It's just fired, that's fine. Torps out. Oh, I hope that's not the Alaska looking at me. Those shells could be downright nasty.
Water returning to ship.
So Grosso and Colorado just seem to have decided to retreat for no particular reason. I'm not sure that's strictly necessary right now. Oh, yes, hello, Pomone. Oh, just getting to the edge of my range without Alaska.
The ship is on fire. Problem solved, sir.
Hey, Jerry. Does seem to have been the season for everyone buying new PCs again, not just jingles. Which, I don't know, always now makes me think of you for some reason. That's now my association in my head is PC hardware stuff. Jerry.
Enemy battleship detected.
Let's take a little turn here. Slightly risky, but I'm not being paid much attention to, and I just want to keep these battleships in range. Got fire going on the Pommer. We'll see if we can get one to stick on the Bismarck as well. Oh, actually, maybe this would be a good time for another smoke.
Smoke generator started.
Oh, completely missed. Okay, there will be an Odin in range 2. A minute or so until I get my spotter back.
Smoke screen set.
There he goes. Odin's coming to play as well. Of course, Pommer's got torp, so I don't think this De Grosse is going to... Ooh. I might take the Pommer with him, though. No. It's just got to heal back. See if we can finish off this Pommer. $228. Okay. Colorado's down. There we go.
Enemy battleship foundered.
Ah, there goes the Cossack. Right, I've got to get out of here. I cannot take on all these ships alone. That's not happening. You do have a reasonable turn of speed when you're going in a straight line, once you've sped up enough. Oh, no, he's come out that way. Okay. Smaller guns, though. I've got a much higher chance of actually bouncing these, but can't now properly make a getaway. Oh, the mice is going to be annoying as well. Highly annoying. Oh, and there's a rune too. I might need to use my last smoke just to get away. To break cover. Come on, go on fire. This is the last couple of ships. I think we've won this one. I just don't wish to die, because apart from anything else, we can't afford to lose the points right now. Ooh. Should be able to have torpedoes against this guy fairly soon as well. Right, it's extinguished the fire, which is nice for me. I just need to hope I can get another one. Right, torps now. That's just about at the edge of where I can drop torps. They're not super fast or anything. Right, the other guys are now paying attention to the middle, but the audience seems to have fixated on me, so maybe I don't need smoke just now. Okay, now they're all looking mid. Yeah, these torps aren't going to hit. At least I'm pretty sure they won't. Yeah, no. It's not fast enough. This is not entirely where I want it to be. Try some AP against the mites. Kind of long range. Try making another drop on the alien, actually. I don't know if they're going to be fast enough to intersect his course. We shall see. It goes to Oostergotland. Might actually break 100k damage. I'm actually too close to drop smoke right now. It wouldn't work.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.
Oh, he's almost done. Just keep hitting him until he goes down. There we go, my kill.
Enemy battleships sunk.
So this turned out to be an okay game. I feel like I've helped out a bit here, but it's not like if this had gone more against us, it's not a ship that can turn the tide. Seems to be quite a good ship. Heavily depends on the matchmaking, AGC. Heavily depends on the matchmaking, and it heavily depends on the quality of your team. It's very much a support cruiser. But ironically, a support cruiser that has almost no team utility unless you choose to take Hydro. But if you do take Hydro, then that comes at the cost of range. I didn't really get to show off the AP very much in that one, but yeah. Okay, fire damage. I have had good games where I've used a lot of AP. It's just heavily dependent on how much broadside you get. So for the 3.5k, sure, but I wouldn't buy it outright.